Welcome to this series of most asked interview questions. If you are about to give interview, these are the must know. If you don't answer these, it will give a very bad impression. So first I'm starting in this series with tricky and confusing questions. Maybe you already know them, but during the pressure of an interview, when counter questions are asked, maybe it leads for you to be in a back foot. So here, as part of our series, we at Clarified Code will give you tips which would go and remain with you for a lifetime. You will never be confused. So let's demystify the things. So today we would be looking into things like generics and generic collections. If you are in this industry, experienced, beginners, whatever, you would have learned about this or know about this. But let's have a focused thinking on what are these and what are the benefits. So I've just had few collections and we need to decide which are like generic collections. So I have a list of an integer, list of a t. I would come to this, what is t, array list, and a class with type t. So which of these are generic collections? Okay, first thing, the first letter is collections, right? So collection is, you would know, right? In plain simple English, we are collecting something and it's like a pile, a bunch of items. So here everything is collection. An array list, list of integer, list of t, or list of string. But which of these are generics? The word here, what they have decided, is a bit confusing. What is being generalized? What is flexible? The key thing or the key mantra to keep in mind is generic collections are type safe. What does that mean? It means generic collections instances can have only one type of data. Okay, so let's see from the examples. List of integer, it can just add on integers like 1, 2, 100, 23, 25. It can never have a list of integer in each, in its element it will have a string. It can never be like that, right? For that you'll have to have a list of string. List of t. So t is like when we are unsure or we want to be flexible in this list to play with different kind of data based on the scenario. Okay, then we can have list t. So suppose I have a method and there we have a list t, and our main aim is to just take out the last element from the list and do some operations, right? And maybe the data which is coming, maybe we are giving like names. So list of names might be coming, list of their age might be coming. So in that case, if we wanted the last element data, we would have to have write separate methods, right? Okay, what is the last element if it's age? What is the last element if it is name? So instead of that, within the same method, we can just loop it and have the last index. Okay, This is slightly off topic, but you get the point. But here the most important thing is, once that is initialized, once this t is initialized, it cannot change. Why it cannot change? I will come to that. So suppose here in the context it became like names, or a string was passed. Then during compile time it will throw error if we, so suppose I gave the name like Andrew, and then Simon, then Lauren, but then I cannot give an age to this list t, which is initialized with the string. In essence, this became type safe. It cannot change. Why it cannot change? It's designed like that. It will give you a compile time error. Fine. Whenever you hear the word generics collection, it is type safe. If you have this in your mind, you will never be confused. So here, if we take the example, there is an array list, right, like this. Now what I can do here, in array list I can have one also, right? Then I can have a string like ABC, and then at the last I can have 100. So in this array list we see different types of data types can be added. So that's why it's not a generic collection. It's a collection, but it's not a generic collection. Fine. Now quickly check the advantages, disadvantages, and when what can be used. Fine. So as we told here, this part, generic collection, we have a specific type defined, and even if it is not defined, we have a placeholder, and once that placeholder is initialized with suppose string, it cannot change. So with this we will have compile time checks, so no runtime errors. There's a type safety. If we have business constraints, like we should just use this string and nobody can add xyz even in types of number context, right, the value context, it will not come. And because once it is of the same type, we don't need to do casting, right, to get the values. We are free from explicit casting. You may say boxing, unboxing. I will just show you this with the array example above. So you see here, when it is with complex scenarios, it's very useful, right? We'll have performance improvement in large cases because no boxing, unboxing. Same code, list t works with string, works with int, right? We have reusable and readable code. Okay, and nowadays all the new frameworks, third-party integrations have compatibility with this. So now let's quickly jump again to the array list example. So here there is no type checking. So maybe your application is running, and because of the data, how it is setting, what type of operations we are doing, we are prone to errors, runtime errors. Okay, and we have mixed data, right? So we'll have to do casting, uncasting, boxing, unboxing to get the data, and it will have performance issues if the data is very big, slowness. So I will just show you how. Okay, so suppose here we said, right, we first added one integer, then we added a string. Now if we need to get that int, what we have to do, we have to do this casting. To get int as a number, we have to have this casting again. And if the first index we know is like a string, right, so we have to specifically typecast it to a string, and then only we can get string text. So you see, it's a heavy operations that we need to do. So this is good for simple cases, right? We know there's an array list of like 10 elements, and no way we are going to have something which is out of like we are writing a code which is susceptible. We have done small checks, if else, all those things we have done in the code, and it's good for simple cases. Sometimes we may have mixed data, right, and we need to parse it to get the data, right. Something mixed is coming up in some context, right, like maybe a password can be 123, or maybe alphanumeric. So small use cases, it's fine. Sometimes they are already sitting in the legacy code. That framework does not allow a lot of generic collections or API integrations, old API integrations. Those cases, it's like fine. But generally, if it is like complex big projects, we have to use generic collections, because it will have complex data structures, and we will have to have the flexibility to share the code, right, internally or as a package DLL or util to a different project. So that's overall. Here I have just mentioned like in .NET it sits with system.collection.generic. Whatever is coming from this is a generic collection, and same with java.util. So you see, if we streamline our mind, we would come to the answers. But the point is, generic, we just have to say type safe. What type safe? When the instance is created of the collection, if it is a generic collection, it cannot change. The data type cannot change. Okay. So here, as an alter thought, it may come, oh, why array list is not a generic collection? See, it's generic means flexible means different data types. So here it's giving different data types. So, oh, might be this is also a generic collection. No, stick to one clue. Generic collections means type safe. Type safe means it can have only one type of data sequence, int or string. Fine guys, hope you like this content. Okay, we will keep pushing a series for most asked interview questions, which are a bit tricky, and there is an added input how we can remember them. So please do follow, and you can also subscribe if you want to be in sync with our series. Okay, thank you.